We are at Stardreaming, which is south of Santa Fe, towards Madrid, with artist James Jereb. And, you know, Santa Fe attracts a lot of very mystical people. And James is probably one of the most mystical, he probably is the most mystical person I have ever met in Santa Fe. And we've known each other for years. He's been an Artisan customer. And James, why don't you start out with the story of in Sedona? Because that was a fascinating story to me when you were hiking in Sedona and you had the vision that kind of told you about this.
Well, I ran into a medicine wheel is what happened. And it was a real medicine wheel, it wasn't a new age medicine wheel. And I was just sitting there, but all the stones before I got up burst into flames. And this grandfather spirit appeared, which was like really long hair and, you know, kind of starry eyes. And no, I wasn't on plant medicine if you ask me, because everyone does. And said, "You're not who you think you are," you know, but was sort of shouting it, you know. And you start building temples and painting on walls and painting on canvas and, you know, all the things that I'm, of course, not doing and would never do or even know how to do. But it was so strong, I thought I was dying. And I was screaming at the same time because I had this journal with me, but I will never forget this because it wasn't like, you know, writing like regular with a pen. I was writing like this. It was a knife because this was an ancient one. I yelled or asked, you know, his name. He said his name was Blazing Sun, which of course, you know, remember his eyes were like...
And rocks go on fire and a spirit of...
Yeah, then it says all this stuff that has nothing to do with me, or at least I didn't think so. And so, you know, I passed out. You know, magically, the ravens flew over, which are messengers of magic. Again, I don't know any of this, of course. I don't know anything really about Southwest at this point. And then the coyotes sang, you know, kind of around, I think I looked at my watch, it was like noon, which is very odd. Anyway, so I got up. Of course, I was very upset. And then I met my friend David, you know, who we split hiking, and he asked me what was wrong, whatever, and I said, you know, for me it was like sacrilegious, okay, that I was getting punished because I shouldn't be in that sacred site. And so I hugged David, and he fell to the ground and said he was electrocuted, and that's when we both kind of, you know, moved into another place. I don't think he ever understood to this day, like, what really happened there. But I got in the car very quickly and went back, you know, to the hotel, and we both, you know, said we would never come back to Sedona.
And then what brought you out here to Santa Fe from Sedona?
I had picked Santa Fe because I was a North African scholar, so I saw the similarities here in the culture and the architecture and so on.
And then Stardreaming, how did the evolution of Stardreaming?
Well, Stardreaming came a lot later, I guess. I had to go through the whole painting thing first. Where is probably my most extraordinary story was with Lord Ganesha, which of course I didn't know who it was. And he said a similar thing that grandfather said, that, you know, you would paint and you would, you know, build temples and, you know, I mean, a lot of this I just thought was etheric, you know, I mean, and of course I never took it seriously about being an artist. I mean, no offense, but I felt fairly intelligent. That's not what I would pick. You know, I already had one book that I had written. I had 3-book contract in England.
What were these books on that you were writing prior?
Well, on North Africa.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I just thought my work would just be like a shamanic thing, you know, like for me personally. I mean, I didn't think I'd ever sell anything. But of course, the whole story here is that Ganesha did appear, and I didn't know who he was. And he is this blue elephant, looks like Dumbo with big blue ears and so on. He
appeared at night or appeared during the day?
During the day when I was painting a Stargate called Maya. And I was painting a Stargate, which of course is, you know, this is, I guess, when it really started. But they were telling me, you know, I'm magical and, you know, whatever. You know, I don't really know anything about paint yet either. So anyway, I was kind of upset that particular day. And that's when Ganesh appeared and said, "Why are you so upset?" And I said, well, because I've never painted before, and your name is. And he said, you know, very quantum things, which of course 20 years ago, I don't know about the rest, I didn't know anything about quantum physics.
Yeah.
So this was so out there, what he's going to say. And one of the first things he said is that you've already done all these paintings. And I was like, you know, at first I just was like, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
I have like 4 or 5 more to do. I mean, this is how naive, I guess, you could, you know, if you look back on this. And of course, then he said you would never own, this is the heavy part,
Yeah.
anything you create. And then his voice changed and went like, ever. It took me years, okay, in truth, to really get the ever part.
Ever, yeah.
Because the first part just went right over. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would give these away. I mean, seriously, that's where I was.
Yeah.
So I just blew it off, okay?
Okay.
And I did not know anything about India. So I thought, seriously, that is not Lord Ganesha. It's got to be, you know, some other Ganesha. Whatever that means, I don't really know, okay? But I was pretty well convinced that it was. This is just the beginning, and Ganesh was a great teacher. And, you know, just told me kind of like, you know, the next paintings. I mean, that's all he ever really did for many years.
Is point you in the direction of what your next painting
He would just, no, I used to have a list on a legal pad, you know. And these were the list of the paintings you're going to do. This is after the Stargates.
Okay.
Then I did the Masters, I don't know, the Universe or something. And it became the Stargate deck, you know.
And you were saying this is your 130th
This is
painting?
yes. This is where this all went. And I'll say it in a way when I was in India, when a woman in the audience raised her hand and said, she said, so everything Lord Ganesha told you, quote, you know, 20 years ago has happened. Is that correct? And I think in that moment, I have to be honest, is when I realized, first of all, it's true. It'll never change.
Yeah.
And my trust or surrender or whatever words you want to use, that was it in that moment. It was like, indeed, is the word I said.
So you just you surrendered.
I surrendered totally to it because it's true.
Yeah.
First of all, and it is extraordinary. It is weird, and I get all that. I mean, I have a lot of artists that come here and ask me stuff, you know, and you know, sometimes I don't think it's a curse, but it was a new consciousness for me, and that's what they wanted me to get, and I do get that now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken a while.
Let's take this point and go in and see what he's talking about.
I think everyone thinks this is so easy and it's such a good business thing, but if most of you, you know, that are artists, you know how close you are sometimes to your work.
Right.
To think that doesn't matter how close you are. At least in my case.
You don't keep it.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as I begin, I can tell you now I own this, right? As soon as I start gessoing, it's gone. I don't know where it's going, but I don't have to.
Yeah.
The ceiling I did with another friend, Meg, who I think you guys know. We did the first level together, and then I thought I was done. Because I never saw this even coming, you know, as far as what I was going to be doing. But it's called The Ceiling and the Magi, and it has alchemical symbols and a Nokian alphabet, light language, runes, various things for people when they're in here meditating.
So this is a meditation room? Is this for the primary purpose of this room?
Oh yeah, totally. Here are all dragons. Actually, were all paintings that I did do at one time. You just put your hand on their head, okay? Is how you feel their energy. And then if you want to know exactly, this is how integrated some of this has been for me, is this is the name of the dragon, this is the temple here at Stardreaming that it is, and this is the energy of that dragon is humility.
Wow.
So that's how that works. And then this sphere here holds all 13.
Uh-oh, my hand's on passion. You better watch out.
But what's interesting is I've had paintings in here not too long ago. I mean, like, 2 months ago, let's say. And they said there should be no paintings for sale.
So when people come to Stardreaming, they can come and...
This is a separate thing. This is an hour for $33. And
Okay.
some people are extending it. You know, at first I thought that's what it should be. And then I started having, you know, different people. I have to honor whatever people's, you know, guides are saying and so on. So some people have been here in 2 hours. Some people have been here 3 hours. And some people never want to leave.
I can really feel
Oh
the
yeah,
power
of
this
course.
work.
But it was really an interesting space for me to build too. You know, because like for example, this door, I know some people are going to say, oh my God, was $25. Right? I must have looked at hundreds of doors, okay, because I had to actually, you know, create an entry, right? And this came from a glass blowing stick. And this door almost gave me a concussion that I bought in another place. And I remember what they said to me, you know, again, you know, some of this is just so beyond. It was like, this is the biggest door you'll ever go through. You know, so it did give me a concussion. I mean, seriously, but I didn't even know it. I made up a story.
If you were to say the purpose of Stardreaming is to raise consciousness.
Yeah. So this is my studio these days, which of course used to be, for a few years, a temple. I mean, this is quite a process for me, but I painted the ceiling in, 2012. And I kind of knew in the strange, because I thought I was going to live in here. I was really convinced.
Yeah.
But it became public almost as I was painting the ceiling. And then, you know, we had, workshops in here, and so it's very, very recent now that this is where I paint. This, of course, is my pride and joy, is my own, you know, altar, alchemical. That's another story. You know, I painted 13 dragons. I have 2 left. This one in Nadarika up here.
Wow.
It was one of the fast and, you know, furious things I've ever done. Of course, I blamed it all on the dragons, but...
Where have you seen the evolution of your painting from the beginning to now? What has evolved?
Well, you know, I was painting dots for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And then it stopped. They said, you're done. Which, of course, I was very emotional. Yeah. At this stage, see, I'm still pretty into it. But when I get to 13, actually it was probably, I think, 11. I mean, I know this probably sounds dumb even for people to talk about, but you know, when you've been painting dots for 20 years, I really thought, you know, I'd paint dots till I died, because even if I was blind, I could paint. So it was a big change for me. Yeah. And they just said, your paintings will be more alive in the future.
Painting is just part of Stardreaming. James has built, if you come into Stardreaming, there's labyrinths, stone labyrinths, and
yeah, I worked in
talk a little bit about this.
Well,
that's a major project.
It is a major project, and it's something that I mean, the easiest way of saying this, if I knew I was going to be doing that, I never would have painted. Okay? Yeah. A lot of what I guess I learned, or they wanted me to get, what is it you think you can't do? And of course, I had a list. Yeah. And he said, okay, well, start. Boom, boom. You know, just start doing what you think you can't do.
And how many labyrinths do you have out there?
Well, now we have, 17. 17 and 23 fire pits and 800 tons is what Stardreaming is now. 800
tons of stone. And you do celebrations like you just did a solstice.
Yes, we had a big solstice. And we have workshops, and we have what I call intensives.
And if someone wanted to come out and visit what you built out here, how do they do that?
Yeah, they go on the website, or they can call, or...
The website is Stardreaming.
Stardreaming.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
They come out in groups, or they come out in individuals?
Doesn't matter. We have both.
Let's go see that structure.
Well, this is the Temple of Magic here. These are the grandmothers here.
Okay.
And then this is New Atlantis over here. So it's flanked by these 2 temples. But the energy here for magic is humility. And the interesting thing, which a lot of people say about me, definitely is this is trust.
It's just trusting that what you're being
Ganesh
led
taught
to
me to do it 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything less, it has to be 100%. That was one of the hardest probably for me. And then also very emotional for me, this is a heart of stone, which is really my heart.
But the other really fascinating thing is the energy in here, because it's an 8-sided building with an 8-sided center within. So it creates this energy. If you know about octagons, it was basically a Templar thing, but it even's more ancient than that. It goes all the way back to Egypt, to the Temple of Thoth, which is really sacred.
Wow.
But what I really love about it is how it frames. This was a Renaissance thing. You would know this, Ron, where they used to have, those frames when they were looking at the landscape in order to paint the landscape. You know what I'm talking about? But see, that's kind of what this is, an illusion. You look at these. I've looked at this tree for years. It's just bigger than it ever was. And the grandmothers are big, but they look bigger when you're in here.
Yeah.
And especially when you're in here sitting, and meditating. And you're looking like, we've had people like sit here, look this way, sit here, look at the mountain, you know what I mean? And it's very, I don't know. There's something about, the octagon that creates that energy.
You can feel the energy.
Oh yeah,
in here.
I know. It's isn't it? It's wild.
Oh, it's crazy.
From the air, and I've known this for a long time.
Okay.
It's a huge heart.
The whole
property, the whole
property.
22 acres makes a perfect heart. And the temples that I have built, when you look at the aerial, and this is recent for me, it actually creates another heart within it. So they have always said to me, and the grandmothers did too, that Stardreaming was going to be a sacred site of the rainbow race, a heart of New Earth.
Do you think it's any coincidence that it's in completion now, starting into 2021?
No, I do not.
Well, I invite you to come out and see Stardreaming. I'm sure James would love to. How much longer do you picture yourself being out on this property?
I'm dying here.
Okay. Stardreaming.org. Look it up and come out and visit James.
Peace!